How you doing, buddy?
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh my God, brother, you're a sight for sore eyes. It's so good to see you.
Well, obviously you don't have cable TV then.
Man, it's been way too long. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. You know what? I'm fucking stoked that I'm getting ready to come to Australia again after 3 years. Um,
Oh, absolutely. And what a privilege it is. It's been such a long time, as you say, 3 years, and it was just the perfect timing, I guess, because we just seen you and we get you straight back again after the madness and the mayhem. It's always such a thrill to see you come back for any reason, but this tour in particular is an absolute must for anyone who claims to be a fan of rock or contemporary rock history, for that matter. You must be looking very much forward to reliving so much that you've had on the journey along the way.
yeah, these things are fun, man. These acoustic things. Um, First of all, I love playing acoustic guitar. Um, Pretty much every song that I've ever written, even the heavy ones, were written on an acoustic guitar and then translated. Um, and then it's funny, you do these shows a lot of times, and I'll have fans write to me and ask me about the tuning of a song, or they'll ask me what the lyrics were about, or what made you play that cover song or play that, write that whatever song. And I kind of find that, like, doing these, it's fun. It's very simple as well. Um, but it's funny, like, everybody enjoys the stories.
Mm.
I used to do way more music. And then, like I said, at the end of the night, I find myself sitting at the bar or at the merch table, and all the fans were asking me these questions. Like I was doing another interview at the end of the show. And I sat there and I had this kind of aha moment where I went, maybe I don't need to do 25 songs. Maybe I need to do 15, but tell the stories of why I wrote these songs, or why I do, this cover song or that cover song or whatever. So I started doing the stories, and now it's funny, like the fans that have been coming, even in Europe and stuff, they go, I love your music, man, but I could have sat and just listened to the stories all night. It's great. So
Absolutely. Indeed. And look, that must be such a hard task in itself, because I look at the albums behind me there, just a snapshot of your amazing achievements, and wonder how the hell you could settle on a set list. But I'm also reminded of Live in the Galaxy in 1999, where, Bruce Kulick is revisiting Kiss songs and you're performing Power to the Music from the Motley Crue days and Man in the Moon from the Scream, as well as some Cheap Trick and Beatles on that show itself. But do you get a little bit of that same reminiscence for yourself and that enjoyment from telling the stories and performing the old songs?
yeah, I mean, there's certain songs that I've got, like, I know where and like what songs. At the end of the day, especially for you guys down there, I'm like, nobody. I don't think I've ever done this in Australia ever. So, like, I know kind of loosely mapped out where I'm going to talk and what stories I'm going to tell. Um, and I try to make them humorous too. So it's honestly, it's more like a comedy show than, but I mean, I kind of have a loose idea what I'm going to do, but I don't even really write a set list. I just go and play. And um, even though most of these places, I'm hoping there's not a curfew, because most of the contracts that Danny sent me, it was like, you got to play like 70 minutes. And I'm like, might want to put me on last, and you might want to talk to the owner, because I get talking and I start telling these stories. I've done shows before where, my tour manager's on the side going, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, stop. You've been literally playing for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So it's really, there's no rhyme or reason to anything. It's just, let's have some fun. You know,
Absolutely. Indeed. And speaking of fun, I guess, and to that slightly comical aspect that did you speak of in the show, I can't help but think about Ian at such a young age pushing the lawnmower across our screen to the beginning of the scream clip for Man on the Moon. It's just priceless. How is Ian, by the way? How's he doing?
He's great, man. You know, he's been biding his time. He's working with another band called Rehab.
Mm.
Um, you know what? I'm really proud of him. He's come a long way in the last few years. He's got identical twin daughters now.
Wow.
So he's doing an amazing job helping raise his daughters. The girl that he lives with, his girlfriend, she already had 2 kids. So he's helping with them and he's helping with his kids. And he's a hard worker, man. He literally went out, he did a tour, he came home, he rested one day, and he went right back to work doing like home contracting and remodeling.
Incredible.
So yeah, he's doing awesome.
Oh, good. Pass on our regards from Silver Tiger Media to him when you see him, my friend, if you would. And of course, big ups to Silverback Touring. As you said, Danny, bringing you out again. We'll see you starting off on Thursday, the 2nd of June at Sydney. And then the show will finish up, or the tour will finish up literally hours before the release of your new book. That'll be on Saturday, the 11th of June. And come midnight, the book will be out. But to go back a little bit further, I've enjoyed the privilege, no, the honor of exploring so many stories with you over such a long period of time. And I don't want to give away too many spoilers from the show, although it sounds like it's going to be very much ad hoc, as it were. But so many brilliant recollections. What I will ask as we chat a little further is if you can think of a story you might not have told before, maybe an anecdote or something. So while we chat in the meantime, have a think about that.
Yeah, that I got to think about. That's
okay. And the tremendous appeal of this show and what makes it, if justice prevails, a sellout tour with the music and the stories is going to be such a brilliant journey. I mean, from going back to Angora, to the crew, to the Dead Daisies. And as you know, as soon as you joined the Dead Daisies, we adopted you here in Australia. As far as we're concerned, you're Australian. But so many more stories. Was the creation... Sorry?
I don't know if you can see it or not. You can see my Australian pups.
Oh, there we go.
we have Australian Shepherds, a standard, and a mini.
Oh, brilliant. Welcome from back home. Was the creation of the new book a little bit of I don't want to say the nail in the coffin type of a metaphor, but due literally for release hours after the Perth show and around my birthday. So thanks very much for the timing, brother. I know you meant that specifically for me. So thank you. Horseshoes and Hand Grenades was the creation of that book sort of this final stimuli to put together this tour?
No, you know, it's funny, to be perfectly honest. I didn't even really, the whole thing came about on my last run there when I did those Live 94 shows with my band.
Indeed.
Paul was at the shows.
Yep.
And we were just sitting out in front of one of the hotels and we were just bullshitting, having a coffee. And some of the guys in my band were talking about Motley and some of the different bands I was in. And they were asking me questions like, hey, what's the biggest place you've ever played? And so I was telling these stories and talking about Mick and Tommy and Nikki and whatever. And Paul said, Crab, you got to do a book. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do a book, whatever. And he said, he kind of gave me this insight because honestly, and I think anybody that really knows me knows, I don't consider myself anything more, like I consider myself a guy who's a musician. That's my job. My job is musician. But like Paul and even some of the guys in my band, they're like, nah, dude, you're kind of, you know, we looked up to you when you were doing that Motley thing. Even Jeremy, my guitar player, was like, dude, I went to your in-store to have you guys sign my record. Like,
Mm.
so Paul was making this point to me that even though I had some chapters in the dirt, he goes, you're kind of this relatively unknown, like, enigma that pops out of the woodwork and says, oh, hey, check out my new music with whatever band you're in at the time. And then all of a sudden it's like you just disappear again and nobody really knows much about you, the person.
Mm.
And he said, I think you have more fans out there than you give yourself credit for. So I came home and I thought about it and I was like, all right, okay. So I called Paul and I said, all right, if you want to do this book, let's do it. And then we got to work and we just started doing, the whole process back and forth and editing and re-editing. And then we pitched it and I did the audiobooks and I did the whole bit. And now it's just happens that it's all kind of syncing up at the same time for me to come to Australia with kind of during the release of the book.
Mm. Back to
So
where it all started. Yeah.
it's weird. It was a total fluke. It just kind of happened that way. But at the same time, my co-writer on the book is Australian.
Mm.
You guys have been brilliant to me from the beginning. So fuck it. Why not? Why not let's do a book release party in Australia. Let's go.
Absolutely brilliant. And I'll apologise to our good friend Paul Miles for blocking his name out behind me there, but there it is. Can't wait to see Paul and you throughout this tour, of course. But I have to ask you for myself, if I may. We've spent so many times chatting together that I've got to hear it from your mouth. Why, with the old adage in mind, why the title?
That was from my father.
Right.
And my dad, and I do tell this story in the book because a lot of people have asked me, like, what the fuck does that mean? My dad was he had one-liners for days. And he wasn't saying shit to be funny. Like, he just had this really dry sense of humor. And I remember one time he said to me, during the union days, we were getting ready to do our first record. And are you there?
I am, yes, sir.
Sorry, my phone was ringing at the same time.
Oh, right.
So union's getting ready to come out. We're getting all this press. My dad just happened to call. And we started talking. I said, man, this band is really getting some great press. And I made the comment, like, I know I've done the Scream and obviously Motley, but I go, I don't know what it is, man. I really feel strongly about this new band. The press that we're getting is insane. And I think this is going to be the band that puts me over the top and makes me a household name. And I made the comment, I think my ship has finally come in. And my dad took a drag of his cigarette and in his dry sense of humor, he goes, ship's coming in, huh? And I go, yep. He goes, well, you know what they say, if your ship's coming in, don't be at the fucking airport. So that was so fast forward 10 or 12 years later, I'm doing, or maybe longer, I'm doing the Unplugged record. And I was telling him about it. And I said, half of the record is songs that I've already released, but I'm doing an acoustic version of them because I just don't feel like they were given a really fair opportunity with radio and MTV and all that shit. So I'm going to redo them. And then I've got half the record is new stuff. And, he was going on about how he loves my acoustic stuff and I can understand what you're singing, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you'll love this record. And he goes, well, what are you thinking about calling it? And as a joke, I said, I'm thinking about calling it John Corabi's Almost Greatest Hits. And he said, or you could just call it horseshoes and hand grenades. And I
There
go,
we go.
what does that mean? He goes, horseshoes and hand grenades. You don't got to be on the money. You just got to be close. So I thought it was brilliant. I wrote it down and I put it away. And I went, someday I'm going to do a record. Maybe I'll do all the songs that I'm known for, put them all on one record, like a greatest hits thing. Or something, but I want to use that name. And then once we did the book and we were reading it, it really made me realize, and if you've been following my career, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I'm popular, but I'm still one of those guys where if you were at a party and you said, oh, hey, we're going to see Steven Tyler tonight, everybody's like, yes. But if you were at the same party and said, hey, I'm going to go see John Corabi tonight, probably 60%, 50, 60% of the people are going to be like, why does that name sound familiar? I've been that guy. And I realized after reading the book that I am the king of being at the right place, but always at the wrong time.
But close enough.
So I said to Paul, when he said, all right, the book's cool, we got a publishing company, what do you want to call it? And I said, this isn't even an option. The book is being called Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. Paul loved it. I told the publishing company, this is what I'm calling the book. And they went, I fucking love it. It's awesome. It's perfect.
Just brilliant. I don't want to quote you back to yourself so many times, but the fact is you've told me so many times from your lips to God's ears, and here we are. It's perfection.
Look, you know what? The one other thing that I realized after reading and writing the book is there's no guarantees with anything in life. All you can do is the best you can do. You write the best songs, you do the best performance in the studio or live, you do the best that you can do. And once you turn the record in or you turn the book in, the one ingredient, and I think you and I talked about this on one of my older interviews with you, the one ingredient is luck. And there's, I just feel like I've been close, but all of the stars, for whatever the reasons are, it was out of my control, out of my power, but all of the stars have never quite aligned for me. So that's a luck thing.
Absolutely.
So somebody, maybe one of these newer songs or the book, maybe somebody will say, oh, I really love that new song Corabi did, Casibella. Maybe I'll put that in my new movie with Brad Pitt or whoever, and then it goes on to sell, a shit ton of records. That's called luck. That's got nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with anything other than luck. So that's a big ingredient.
And to all you movie makers, they're all in the can. They've got all of these brilliant John Corabi songs. But I was thinking the same thing when you released such a brilliant track, Your Own Worst Enemy. I thought, well, that's got to make it to the movies by title alone.
and it's weird. Like, I wrote the song and I've been working on the lyrics, but I swear to God, like watching just, I have a few friends that are kind of struggling with addictions and different things like that. And, it could be about them, but it's really just about human fucking nature. I mean, we just continually do the same stupid shit over and over and over again. And thinking that there's going to be a different outcome. I mean, we're going, but again, here in America, like right now there was just another massive school shooting with, 21 people killed. Some crazy dude with a gun walked into a school and killed 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers. And I'm like, when are we ever going to learn? Like, we don't seem to be learning. So your own worst enemy is just about these people, humanity, that just continue to do the same shit over and over and over again, thinking there's going to be a different outcome. It doesn't work that way.
Not at all. That's remarkable. I was doing a presentation with a uni that I teach in Melbourne. I was talking about you very briefly, and I couldn't wait to hear your thoughts on that issue as we were hearing the news of such a terrible tragedy again. And of course, there we are, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. But
and you have it's really funny. They were just talking about it on the news. 90%. It's a pretty big number.
oh,
But 90% of Americans are okay with stricter gun policies. Not taking the guns away, just stricter policies in the purchase of. And so you look at that, you go, wait, 90%. Okay, well, then they should just, they should be able to sit down at a table and pass a law. But for some reason, that 10% and these NRA companies, like these lobbyists, have completely paid off all these politicians in Washington. And they're like, the same guys are like, our thoughts and prayers are with the families. Our thoughts and prayers are with the communities. Our thoughts and prayer. And it's just like, dude, stop with the thoughts and prayers and fucking do something so that our kids feel a little safer going to school. And again, it'll never get done. So it's just, we're just in this cycle of, and here's another one, not to be weird. Everybody for weeks was talking about Ukraine and what Putin was doing in the Ukraine. And it's like, okay. And they're saying it's very similar to what happened in 1939 in Poland. And I'm sitting there going, here we go again.
Absolutely.
Here we go again.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, we don't ever learn. No. It's weird.
And look, it's exploring these stories with you. This is really the appeal and why people must come and see your show. It's the off the hip conversations that are so precious to me, to name but one. And I can't wait for people to come along throughout the tour in Australia and listen to these stories, especially the off the hip stuff that you find important during the show, and take everyone along for the journey. There's been so many young aspiring musicians that have literally, my own son included, with his bass guitar in hand, trying to kick down doors. Young aspiring musicians who have had basically the COVID saga and lockdowns kick the shit out of their aspirations. But from your stories, they can glean hope, the ups, the downs. Listening about the life behind the music is just utterly amazing. I can't wait for you to get here and people to enjoy these shows.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people forget, or they don't realize, like, I'm human. And if I can be frank, like, dude, this last 2.5 years was a fucking struggle. And it's still a struggle, because you got to remember, like, musicians, touring is how they make their money. And that was just taken away for 2.5 years. So I, just like everybody else, I went through all my cash and I maxed out all my credit cards. And now I've got some gigs in the horizon, and I'm like, okay, cool. I can slowly get out of this just like everybody else, and it's weird. Like, I understand a lot of things with, the pros and the cons and the conspiracies and the realities and, all this other kind of shit. But at the end of the day, we're all just human. I don't make any bones about who I am, what I am. I'm just, honestly, I'm just like all you guys. I'm just a stiff with a really fucking awesome job.
Beautifully put. And in support of musicians, get out there, support the musicians, support the shows. I learned yesterday that our dear friend Amy Francis is joining you on the tour, so we can't wait to see her performing up on stage and opening at least some of the shows, as I understand, for you. That'll be brilliant. And John, I did ask earlier on if you could think of a story. We've been chatting and exploring so much, it might have gone off to left field, as it were. But have you thought of anything that maybe hasn't been told before?
Yeah, there's definitely some you know, dude, like it's so weird. There's been so much insane positive, like just pinpointing one thing down. You know what? I promise you, the next time I see you, I'll have a different story for you. Right
That
now,
sounds brilliant.
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'm sitting there going, okay, what did I talk about in the book? And it's so weird. I've read the thing 10 times, but I haven't seen it now for 6 months. So I'm like, what did I put in the book? So I don't want to give anything away, but next time I see you, I'll have one for you.
Brilliant stuff. Well, this tour, as I say, is unmissable. If COVID taught us anything, it's that every moment is so precious, and to share some of those moments with you is a chance not to be missed. The old, the young, the fit, the frail, and anyone wanting an experience like no other, an experience of a lifetime. Grab tickets now to experience the journey of the one, the only, the utterly magnificent John Corabi. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
Just terrific to see you again, John. So we'll end the recording there, but magnificent to catch up again.
You too, my friend. You know, I'm just like I said, man, I'm just so excited to be getting finally now. Like I got gigs this weekend. I go to Australia. I come home from Australia. Got a few more gigs. So I'm like, oh fuck, thank God. It's you know, because I was teetering on having to start selling shit. And you know, it's been an interesting couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. Are they bringing out some books to sell at the shows? Do you know, John?
We're hoping.
Okay.
I don't know what the shipping thing is going to be like.
Yep.
And I don't know what the customs people are going to be like.
Yeah.
I know the publisher was talking about sending over a couple 100 books so that I would have some at all the shows. But fuck, who knows, dude? Like, I have no idea. Like, I was even going to send CDs over there. They were delayed, so I just got them. And I'm sitting there now going, fuck, if I sent them, I don't even know if they would make it in time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Just so hard to say.
So we'll see. We'll see what the deal is.
Indeed. Well, I'll see you in Melbourne on June 9th, my friend. I can't wait to catch up with you again. It'll be absolutely brilliant. Give the puppies a pat for us and take care.
All right, buddy. Good seeing you.
You too, brother. Take care.
Bye. Bye-bye.